Imagine this, an apocalyptic landscape. Cities flattened. Forests turned to ash. The sky, a hellish red, rains radioactive dust. Humanity? On the brink. But through this scorched, glowing wasteland, something stirs. Something lives. Creeps. Crawls. Grows. Even thrives. Today, we're diving into the eerie world of the indestructible. The ones nature engineered to survive even our worst mistakes. Buckle up, because what you're about to learn will blow your mind. We're counting down the top 5 real-life organisms, creatures, and things that can survive nuclear fallout, and you won't believe what made the list. Let's start with one you've probably heard of, but never truly understood. The cockroach. Yeah, the legend. People love to joke that roaches will inherit the earth if humanity nukes itself to oblivion. But is that actually true? Well, sort of. Cockroaches can survive levels of radiation about 15 times higher than a human. While a dose of 1,000 rads would kill most of us instantly, roaches can tolerate around 6,400 rads, depending on the species. Why? It's not some sci-fi shield, it's their biology. Cockroaches have a slower cell cycle, meaning their cells don't divide as often. Radiation mainly damages dividing cells, so the roach's laziness actually saves its life. Their exoskeleton also offers a surprising amount of protection. And get this, they've been found alive just a few hundred meters from Hiroshima's epicenter. Roaches didn't just scuttle away from the blast. They walked through it. But there's a catch, cockroaches aren't totally invincible. In extreme doses or long-term fallout, even they eventually die off. So no, they won't become our post-apocalyptic overlords. But they'll definitely outlive your average house cat. Now, you might be thinking, okay, creepy crawlies make sense. But what about something cuter? Well, how about a water bear? Or as scientists call it, tardigrade. These microscopic, 8-legged critters look like gummy bears with claws, and they are monsters of survival. They can endure radiation levels up to 5,000 to 6,000 grays. That's over 1,000 times what would kill a human. They've survived in the vacuum of space. They've been frozen for 30 years and brought back to life. Boiled. Zapped. Dried out. Crushed. Still alive. Their secret weapon? A bizarre protein called DSUP, short for damage suppressor. This molecule literally shields their DNA from radiation. Like, it physically wraps around their genetic material and says, nope, not today. In fact, human cells have been genetically engineered to express DSUP in lab tests, and showed significantly higher resistance to radiation damage. Tardigrades also enter a state called cryptobiosis, a sort of suspended animation where they curl up, dry out completely, and basically pause life. In this form, they can wait out disaster for decades. When conditions improve, they just rehydrate and wake back up like nothing happened. Scientists once revived one that had been frozen for over 30 years. If the planet were nuked tomorrow, most mammals would die in days. But in the soil, in mosses, in puddles, tardigrades would wait. Then one day, they'd just walk back out. Like tiny post-apocalyptic zombies. But they're not alone. Next up is something that doesn't crawl or breathe. In fact, it's not alive at all. Glass. Yup, ordinary, boring glass. But it turns out, when it comes to surviving a nuclear explosion, glass is a silent, sparkling champion. In Hiroshima, scientists found something strange. While entire buildings were reduced to dust and humans were vaporized, glass bottles survived. Some were deformed by heat but remained intact. Others were completely unchanged, just sitting there, collecting ash. How is that even possible? The answer lies in chemistry. Glass is already a superheated, fused material. It's born in fire. So even a blast reaching 1,500 degrees Celsius may not be enough to fully melt it, especially if the object isn't directly in the line of sight of the heat wave. And radiation? Doesn't phase it. Glass doesn't have cells. It doesn't mutate or decay like organic material. Even the sand in nuclear testing zones has fused into radioactive glass. At the Trinity test site in New Mexico, the very first nuclear bomb ever detonated, the desert floor turned to a greenish, glossy material called trinitite. It's still there today. If you visit, you'll see eerie green pebbles shining under the sun, proof that glass not only survives nuclear fallout, it becomes part of it. Now let's talk about something much more ancient. Something prehistoric. The horseshoe crab. This weird, helmet-headed creature looks like a living fossil, because it basically is. Horseshoe crabs have been on Earth for over 450 million years. That's older than the dinosaurs. Older than trees. And they've survived every mass extinction event, including the one that wiped out 75% of all species. What makes them so unstoppable? For one, their immune system is insanely advanced. Horseshoe crab blood is bright blue, because it's loaded with copper-based molecules that instantly detect and neutralize toxins or bacteria. This unique blood is so sensitive, it's used in pharmaceutical testing worldwide to ensure vaccines and IV drugs are safe. But there's more. Horseshoe crabs can go for long periods without food or oxygen. Their hard exoskeleton shields them from environmental changes, and they can adapt to salinity, temperature, and pollution like champs. And yes, they can survive radiation exposure better than most marine life. In the event of nuclear fallout, marine life would suffer, but these armored tanks would scuttle right on through. Slow, ancient, but utterly unstoppable. And finally, we arrive at number 1. The king of radiation resistance. The creature so terrifyingly tough, scientists literally use it to study how to clean up nuclear disasters. Meet Deinococcus radiodurans. And that's exactly what it is. This pinkish, microscopic bacterium can survive 1,500 times the radiation that would kill a human. That's 5,000 grays. And in some cases, it's withstood up to 15,000, without dying. So how does a single-celled organism do what even cockroaches can't? First, insane DNA repair. Radiation damages DNA by breaking its strands. But Deinococcus doesn't care. Its DNA shatters, then it repairs itself perfectly, within hours. Over and over. It's like watching a glass shatter, and then reform before your eyes. It has multiple copies of its genome stored in tight rings, which act like templates for instant repair. It also produces antioxidants that protect proteins from radiation damage. This bacterium was discovered in the 1950s, accidentally. Scientists were sterilizing canned meat with gamma rays. The cans were expected to be dead zones. But boom, something was growing. That something was Deinococcus radiodurans. Since then, it's been found in toxic waste dumps, the Arctic, dry deserts, and even clean rooms for spacecraft. NASA has studied it to see how life might survive on Mars. In one test, scientists exposed it to outer space, vacuum, UV rays, cosmic radiation, and it lived. It's even been genetically modified to eat radioactive waste. Scientists engineered a strain that breaks down toxic materials like mercury and solvents in radioactive environments. Not only does it survive the apocalypse, it cleans it up. If humans disappear, if cities fall, if oceans boil, Deinococcus radiodurans will still be there. Pink. Tiny. grinning under a microscope. So let's recap. Roaches will outlive your bunker, tardigrades will nap through the end of the world, glass will sparkle in the ashes, horseshoe crabs will crawl through acid oceans, and a single-cell bacterium will rebuild itself from nuclear ruin like it's just another Tuesday. What does this tell us? That nature is terrifyingly resilient. That life finds a way, not always in the way we expect. Sometimes, it's not the strong that survive. It's the weird, the patient, the forgotten, the microscopic. In a world obsessed with strength and power, the real survivors are often invisible, and here's the kicker. Studying these survivors could actually help us survive. From tardigrade proteins that shield our DNA, to bacteria that eat nuclear waste, nature may hold the key to our own future, if we're smart enough to pay attention. So the next time you squash a roach or step in a puddle, remember, what you just crushed might outlive your entire species. If the world ends tomorrow, these 5 survivors won't blink, they'll crawl out of the rubble, they'll dust off the fallout, they'll thrive because they were built for the end. Thanks for watching. If your jaw is still on the floor, hit that like button. And if you want more mind-blowing stories of survival, evolution, and everything in between, make sure you subscribe. Because trust me, we've only just scratched the radioactive surface. Until next time, stay curious, stay weird, and whatever happens, don't mess with the tardigrades.